Procrastination isn't about laziness. It's your brain's hidden stress signal. But here's the good news. One 5-minute shift can change everything. Stick around. We're about to rewire your habits.
Please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Check the description for trusted sponsors and ways to support the show. Procrastination costs the average person 218 minutes per day in lost productivity. That's over 55 days each year we spend avoiding what matters most. But here's the thing. Everything we think we know about procrastination is completely wrong.
You know what's fascinating about that statistic? I was actually planning to look up procrastination research earlier today, but I reorganized my entire photo library instead.
That's exactly what we need to talk about because what you just described isn't about poor time management. It's actually your brain's response to stress, controlled by something called the prefrontal cortex.
Hold on, are you saying when I'm organizing photos instead of working on important tasks, it's actually a stress response?
Precisely. Think of your prefrontal cortex as your brain's CEO. It's the command center for planning and impulse control. Recent neuroscience shows that when we're stressed, this CEO essentially goes offline.
So that explains why during particularly stressful periods, like when dealing with family issues, even simple tasks become overwhelming.
And here's the game-changing insight from recent research. You're not a procrastinator. That's not your identity. You have a habit of procrastinating, which is fundamentally different.
The distinction feels important because a habit is something we can actually change, right?
Exactly. Research shows all habits have 3 components: a trigger, a pattern, and a reward. With procrastination, studies have identified that the trigger is always stress, but here's the key finding. It doesn't have to be stress about the task you're avoiding.
That explains so much about why global events or personal issues can impact our productivity in seemingly unrelated areas.
Recent studies from the Journal of Research in Personality found that after the stress trigger, we fall into a pattern of avoidance that gives us a temporary dopamine reward, essentially a brief hit of stress relief.
So what's the science behind breaking this cycle? How do we rewire these stress responses?
The most effective technique, according to neuroscience research, is the 5-4-3-2-1 method. When you catch yourself procrastinating, first acknowledge the stress, then count backward from 5 to 1. This literally activates your prefrontal cortex.
That's fascinating. But what happens after the countdown?
Here's where it gets interesting. Studies show that if we can get people to start working for just 5 minutes, 80% will continue working beyond that time. It's about breaking the initial resistance.
Only 5 minutes? That doesn't sound nearly as intimidating as thinking about the whole project.
Exactly. And research from the Harvard Business Review shows that combining this with time boxing, allocating specific time slots for tasks, can increase productivity by up to 150%.
Speaking of research, I've seen studies linking exercise to improved focus. Is there a connection to the prefrontal cortex?
Absolutely. A groundbreaking study in the Journal of Clinical Neuroscience found that regular exercise increases prefrontal cortex volume by up to 11%. It's like giving your brain's CEO a complete upgrade.
That's incredible. But what about when we're dealing with really big, overwhelming projects?
This is where task breakdown becomes crucial. Studies show that breaking large projects into smaller tasks reduces cortisol levels, our primary stress hormone, by up to 50%.
So instead of writing a complete report, we should break it down into smaller, manageable chunks?
Precisely. And research from Stanford shows that using implementation intentions, specific if-then plans, can double your chances of following through on tasks.
Could you give an example of how that works in practice?
Instead of saying, I'll work on the report, create a specific plan like, if it's 9 a.m., then I'll write the introduction for 25 minutes. This gives your prefrontal cortex clear, actionable instructions.
That makes so much sense. But what about when we slip up? How do we avoid that spiral of self-blame?
Recent research in the Journal of Positive Psychology shows that self-compassion actually improves our ability to overcome procrastination by 60%. Being harsh with ourselves typically triggers more stress, creating a negative feedback loop.
That's such a refreshing perspective. It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And here's something fascinating. Visualization studies show that mentally rehearsing task completion strengthens the same neural pathways as actually doing the task.
This has been incredibly enlightening, Any final thoughts for our listeners who might be struggling with procrastination right now?
Remember this, according to the latest research, it takes an average of 66 days to form a new habit. Start with these science-based strategies, be patient with yourself, and remember, you're not a procrastinator. You just have a habit that can be changed. Your future self will thank you for starting today, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Thanks for tuning in to the Wellness Lab Digest. If this episode helped you, here are 3 quick ways to support the show. 1. Subscribe to stay updated with fresh, body-loving wellness insights. 2. Share this episode with a friend who needs this today. 3. Comment below and tell us what topics you'd love to hear next. Want to do even more? Check the video description for ways to support the show. Stay curious, stay well, and we'll see you in the next episode.